we're officially up to 8 games now, and this is the opposite of last year's team. Last year's team, I felt like they had some 2015 depth, and you felt very confident about the depth the whole way through. This feels a lot more like last year, 2 years ago's team, where it's like I feel confident with the main guys, and I don't trust anyone off the bench. And tonight was a perfect example of that. Miami made all their runs against the second unit, and then all it took was, Clay getting cold in his last stint. That's it. That's how they won the game. That's it. They took advantage of the second unit all game, and then it was a single possession game. And when it's a single possession game, it's kind of about who can just hit a shot, right?
Yeah. And this is not. I mean, you're talking about one game, but the issues from this bench is. I mean, let's just talk about the last 3 games, right? I mean, it's the same for all. So I have a couple thoughts. I will start with Jordan Poole, who was really bad tonight. Really, really, really bad. And I think now the funny part is he's getting called for the carries, which, by the way, I've talked about. I always feel bad talking about it because nobody calls carries.
You're such a traditionalist on that. You're just like
my friends call. They're like, dude, why are you snitching? Like, dude, it's 2022. Nobody gives a fuck, right? But I'm just saying those are all carries. The refs called them, which, dude, like, when have they ever done that? I don't actually.
That's where I'm at. 80 out of 82 games, that's not a carry.
Like, what are we doing here, refs? like, why are you calling that in today of all days, right? Second part about Jordan Poole is that I feel like he is not getting to play the style that he gets to play because of the people around him. And I'm talking specifically about Wiseman. Whenever, and I talked about this on the last part, whenever Jordan Poole has to play with Wiseman, it feels like he has to adjust from who he has been last season. What made him so good is that he can just fly and play up and down. And you know what the other thing was? Poole's an atrocious defender. If you put 4 defenders around him, or at least 4 smart guys around him, it protects Jordan Poole, right? So you let him do what he does best, which is score, be creative, and then you hide him a little bit on offense. The Warriors did this with Steph for years early on in his career, and then Steph became an MVP-level offensive player. Defense didn't matter as much. So I do think, Poole was bad tonight, but at the same time, I don't know if he's put in a great position right now off the bench to be that guy, to say like, hey, carry the bench offensively because of the guys around him.
Friend of the show, Steve Kerr, with a quote post-game from CJ Holmes. I thought we played well enough to win. We didn't close the game. When I read this, I'll go first. When I read this, it feels like he's trying to protect the second unit, because he's once again blaming the starters for not closing the game. And I mean, objectively, it's true. Clay missed shots he should hit down the stretch. And it was kind of a tie game, and you expect your stars to come through with it. But anyway you slice it, when you take a big picture view at this game and really the entire season, the issue is the second unit. They don't have anyone they can count on. Last year, they could count on GP2. They could count on Otto Porter. They could count on a handful of guys. They had lineup combinations that they trusted, that made sense. It made Jordan Poole look good. It made other players play well. Right now, he's playing a lot of Ty Jerome, and honestly, he should play more. like Ty Jerome, 2 years ago, I'd be like, why are you playing a two-way guy that much? Or like even last year, that sort of stuff. Ty Jerome should be the 7th or 8th man off the bench right now, because he's the 7th or best player on this team right now. And that is fundamentally the issue going on.
Yeah, it makes the Warriors play 2 different games. It fumbles the rhythm. You can just look at them, and it's not fun to watch. It's very hard. But let's also be very clear about the James Wiseman stuff. He was really bad in the first half. They almost immediately gave up like a 15-0 run. In the first half, Steve Kerr makes the adjustment and says, you know what? You're going to play only with the starters. And he looked good because you're playing with 3 Hall of Famers, quite possibly the best trio in NBA history. I mean, I would assume anybody would look good in those situations. And then Steve Kerr took him out when the rest of the bench came in. And I thought the bench was better. They still gave up some shots. Again, JaMychal Green wasn't great tonight. I don't think he's been good at all this season. But I do think Steve's trying to make some adjustments. The last thing I'll say on this point is Kuminga, man. He didn't play tonight again. Dante DiVincenzo's out for another week. He's the two-way wing that if you're developing a player that plays a Warrior style, Kuminga's that guy. He's that guy you have to throw out there and see. It's just, that's my opinion, Sam. You got to give him a shot. You got to give him a shot because he's going to be able to defend. He's not going to be able to muck it up and be that bad defensively. I want to see that guy play versus what we're seeing right now with someone like Wiseman, who you only play like 9-10 minutes. But I'd rather those minutes go to someone like Kuminga.
To your point, Steve Kerr on James Wiseman, improved stint in the third quarter. James bounced back really well. This is all part of it for him. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think my main takeaway here is they're putting so much emotional energy into making Wiseman functional that they've ruined Kuminga in the process. And they haven't actually ruined him. Like, he could bounce back from it. But like, the cost of creating this system to make Wiseman comfortable and succeed is Kuminga no longer plays. So that's one thing right there. And that's problematic. It's like when you're watching it, he was the worst player in the first half. And in the second half, he was passable for 2 minutes until Steve took him off the floor because he wanted to put other guys on the floor. I don't want to kill the guy every time, but it just feels like they jump through hoops to make him successful. They jump through hoops to make him feel decent. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, this team won the title. They have one of the 5 to 10 best players of all time. They're contending for another title. Why is so much emotional energy and everything being spent on this one player when, like you, I'm sitting here, I'm going, look, Kuminga could also be a bust. He could also not be a good player. But when I look at him, I'm like, I'm curious because he does profile like one of those wings that the Warriors love to throw out there in playoff series. And it's just, it's very clear what they're doing. They're trying very hard to put Wiseman in a position to succeed so that they can build him up. And I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it because they're 3-5 right now and it's early in the season, but there's cost to all these things. There's cost to Kuminga not getting minutes. There's cost to other players not getting put into positions of success, such as Jordan Poole, as you mentioned. And you can keep going down it, but it's, I'm skeptical of this approach because I fundamentally believe if a player is actually that transcendent, they don't need to be coddled like this.
Yeah, and I think El Basketball TV are throwing some comments up, which love YouTube Live because we can do this. Throwing some comments up. He has one, or she has one about why aren't you guys talking about the fourth? And why are we talking about Wiseman? Because I'm not worried. Not worried about the Warriors in the fourth quarter. You give me this scenario in the fourth quarter where it's a tie game and you get Steph and Clay and Draymond in a tie game with 5 minutes to go. I'm taking those guys. What? We just saw them win a title in Boston doing that. Why would I be worried? Well, what I am worried about is how this rest of the team is going to develop players and function the rest of this 82-game season, because that's a part that's not sustainable, right? Literally, word for word, what you just said, Sam, I agree with, because it's getting very frustrating with that. It's also not about him. It's very hard for
It's never about any individual. It's always about like in the context of the team. Come on, man.
Yeah, and it's hard for everyone to play basketball that way. I look at the Nets lost again tonight. Nets lost to the Bulls tonight. They were up big and they lost. The Lakers won the first game. Darvin Ham was crying. That's how sad sack they are. They were 0-5, won a game, and the coach is crying. It's pathetic. And those teams are the way they are because, to me, they just don't play well as a team. They've got talent. It's not like they don't have talent, but they have no idea how to play with each other. They have no idea how to play defense. And when you watch this Warriors team, I still think they're going to be in the postseason, and they're going to be a lot better than they are right now, which I don't think Lakers and Nets get there. I think the Warriors get there because they have a stronger foundation. But, man, there are a lot of times where you look at this team and you're like, yeah, they don't know how to play with each other, and this guy is why, and that guy is why. And you put all these guys together, all of a sudden you're throwing out these lineups that dude, are you surprised that they suck? And you can say you're developing, but you're 3-5. You're 3-5.